Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I wanted to talk all about Season 1 of Battlefield 6 and more specifically about how the developers at DICE are still listening to the community in ways that other studios just won't, making some impressively community-forward decisions about the skins in this season, which we'll talk about in the back part of this video. Gameplay today is going to be all from J-Hub. I am still sick as a dog and mostly focusing my time on RedSec and Arc Raiders right now, so J-Hub will be providing some lovely base Battlefield gameplay for us to all enjoy today. And the first topic that I want to talk about before just getting into the details of Season 6 is the insane amount of popularity of Battlefield 6, especially in causing attrition from the Call of Duty community. There have been several very large Call of Duty creators shifting over to play Battlefield, or at a minimum shifting away from Call of Duty and including Battlefield as a key fixture of a mix of other games. Off the top of my head, many of you probably saw that Exclusive Ace is shifting his main channel over to a Battlefield 6 channel, the main channel that's nearly at 1 million subs that he's ran for over a decade now with incredible degrees of professionalism and success, and built that bankable Call of Duty brand. Battlefield 6 is popular enough to make Exclusive Ace, of all people, decide it's worth it to convert his main channel over to that. He did, of course, make a second channel for his Call of Duty content, which will continue, but this is still an extremely bold choice. I saw some content coming out from Iceman Isaac talking about how he's not going to be, I believe it was Iceman Isaac, I hope I'm not butchering this in the commentary, talking about how he's not going to focus exclusively on Call of Duty this year, but will be playing a wide variety of other games, including Battlefield. And I've seen just kind of a pretty big batch of creators that traditionally only make content in the Call of Duty space say, hey, we're not doing as much Black Ops 7 this year, we're going to do Battlefield 6 instead, or we're going to do variety gaming, and their segue into variety gaming is by spending a lot of time on Battlefield 6. And to be quite honest, it's not terribly different for me. Motivations may be a little different. Many of you saw my video on burnout and health updates and stuff, but things aren't going great here, and I just kind of wanted to change my focus more to variety gaming and topical contents instead of focusing on Call of Duty. So I guess I'm kind of in that trend, and I'm doing the same thing in variety gaming. The variety that's getting most of my attention here is Battlefield 6. So that degree of popularity goes beyond Twitch numbers, it goes beyond Steam charts and what's publicly available. That's changing people's behavior, which is impressive. But now that I've rambled about that long enough, let's actually talk about Season 1 of Battlefield 6, because it appears to be a bit of a mixed bag. I think everybody that's playing the game is happy to have the new content. There's 2 new maps. You got Blackwell Fields, you got Eastwood, we've got new game modes like Strike Point and Sabotage, and we've got some new weapons like the SOAR 300C and the M357 trait sidearm. Unfortunately, all of this did not drop day 1 with Season 1. They're doing a staggered release, like 1 set of releases per month, so this will come out over a series of time, and I think that's very reasonable, because you don't want to drop everything in Halloween and then all the dev studios take off for December and November and there's nothing going on. It makes total sense to stagger this content over the long holiday break to give DICE enough time to make more new good content for you when they return to offices sometime in January, which if they're returning to those offices in Sweden, I was there once in November, so the month that you're like watching this, it broke my little Texan brain to watch the sun set at 3 p.m. I can't even imagine how bad it is in January, so good luck to them toughing that out. I don't normally get like seasonal affective disorder, but that would absolutely affect me. Season 1 came with a number of quality of life improvements, bug fixes, most major glitches got some work, improvements to optimization, of course, less crashes, less cheaters, etc., etc. But that's all very normal for a season update. But what I want to talk about is the mix part of the mixed bag. You know, you say life is sweet and sour. Let's talk about the sour a little bit. Not everybody likes the Battle Pass Pro. This is an extremely controversial thing. So in case you're unfamiliar, Season 1 launched with Battlefield's first Battle Pass, and the regular Battle Pass comes with plenty of content. The Battle Pass costs about $10 after you've converted your currency through this point system, and that'll vary a little bit per region. It's exactly what you would expect from a battle pass with 100 tiers of interesting loot, the coolest being at the end, some bonus tiers, some bonus things to unlock, some XP boost, some, very kind of standard progression to work through. And then there is the Battle Pass Pro, which costs $25, not that dissimilar from the Premium Battle Pass in the finals or the Black Cell Pass for Call of Duty. This gives you an increased rate of earning your experience points and how fast you progress through it. You get some additional tiers. And more importantly, there is some exclusive content on the Battle Pass Pro that is not on the main Battle Pass, that you can only unlock if you pay the extra money to get the Battle Pass Pro. Well, this did not rub many gamers the right way, and the community has largely been protesting against the Battle Pass Pro. And when I say protesting, I mean the amazing American way of protesting, where we get on Reddit and YouTube comments and Twitter, and we have a lot to say about it. We got a lot of vitriol. We got a lot of opinions. Our mouths run about how we're going to hold the line, and this is our hill to die on. But man, I see plenty of people ponying up money to buy that Battle Pass Pro. For all of this online bluster and community pushback, it does not seem to have affected the sales of the Battle Pass Pro, which means the people that voted with their dollars outvoted those that voted with their mouths, and this is probably going to continue. It's funny how when we vote, our mouths and wallets don't always align. The most common criticism I've seen from this vocal group is that the game already costs about $70 depending on your region and version, so adding a battle pass to this very soon after the game fully released effectively makes it like a $100 game. Me personally, I do understand their opinion. I do not like spending hundreds of dollars on games. I don't feel that's necessary in the modern era, so that doesn't feel good. But it doesn't bother me quite as much because I've already been buying the premium battle passes in the finals, which are like $30 if I'm not mistaken. The difference being that I really, really love that game. I'm still badly addicted to the finals. I'm fighting the urge to play that game tooth and nail to focus on more popular content at the moment, but sometime in the near future we'll probably be playing the finals again. But I love the game, and I love their cosmetics almost more than any other game I've ever played, so it seems like a justified expenditure to me. But that's just a personal choice. What you do and what you think is a good and valid way to spend your money is only up to you. But to speak of the finals, as much as I love the cosmetics in the finals, they are wild, wacky, and extremely unrealistic. But in the context of that game, it makes total sense because the players are in a digital game show and they're all encouraged to wear costumes to the game show. Here in Battlefield 6, we're supposed to be taking part in the fantasy of a real grounded war that could break out at some time in the near future. This is supposed to be somewhat reflective of our reality in a very cool kind of pro-military way. So Battlefielders were justifiably upset that Season 1 included some more colorful skin choices. I'll go ahead and put all the skins from Season 1 of Battlefield 6 on the screen right now so that you can kind of get an idea of this. Now, the majority of these are still fairly realistic, and starting from the top left and working to the right, we kind of have to hit the absolute middle of the screen to catch a guy who's got some more greens and yellows on him and looks a little bit like a bumblebee, then a guy who has one piece of blue decoration, and all the rest are pretty reasonable military looking. Then, unfortunately, when we move down to the bottom row, we've got some more stark greens, we've got some more hoods, some more cosmetics, we got an orange guy. You don't see the blue one because he's already removed. And we start seeing more and more splashes of colors on these soldiers, which, depending on the type of game that you want to make, might not necessarily be a bad thing. But the community believes that this is a bad thing for Battlefield 1. I think they want more of their soldiers to look like the first three guys on that image and less like the last three guys, or probably really less of that entire bottom row down there, because they want realistic, grounded-looking soldiers. And while I love the Family Guy joke of Peter going to war dressed as a clown because nobody's looking for clowns, that's just really not how it works. And I think this is an interesting spot to give DICE credit for, because there was one particular skin that the community was the most upset about, which was this neon blue skin, and you didn't see it in that original image, because out of all of the ones on that original image, this one was probably the least realistic. I would be really, really surprised to see something like this neon blue skin on an actual real battlefield. It almost looks like something that UN military police or the UN military police equivalent of SWAT would wear or something like that. It looks more like a police force to me. But either way, that's the one that got by far the most vitriol from the Battlefield community, and where this gets surprising and then finally ties together with the title of this video is that DICE once again decided to listen to the community and simply remove the skin. They did so without any big announcements, without any fanfare or anything that would draw meaningful attention to their actions. The skin was just subtly disappeared from being available. I think it's utterly shocking that any game studio anywhere is actually listening to their community instead of actively fighting against them. That should not be the norm. That should not be my expectations, but it does happen far too often in the game development industry. So like my previous videos, I think Battlefield is playing it safe and conservative by listening to what their community wants, and they've seen the destruction that's been wrought in other communities like Call of Duty, trying to force change on gamers that don't want that change. It's very difficult and usually a bad business decision to try to force change on your customers. It shouldn't be this way, but it is very counter to traditional industry logic that DICE is listening to the Battlefield community. Wilder still that they took the advice of removing the skin and implementing that fix without any sort of big press release announcement. Normally, game companies will have their PR teams post on social media and work up a big official press release and then send out emails to press and YouTubers and whoever's covering their content in hopes that they get a lot of attention. They get a lot of positive community sentiment and announcements. They want as much credit and goodwill from those type of decisions as possible. But DICE didn't do any of that. They just fully removed the skin and had very little to say about it. So kudos to them. And also kudos to them for removing the skin, because you do run into a sunk cost fallacy very often that somebody somewhere got paid money to do art for and then fully implement and design that skin. I don't know the actual cost. It probably cost more than you think to add a skin to a game. And they just said, you know what, we don't need that money. We can just write that cost off and accept the loss as long as it keeps our game popular. All that being said, I'm still not able to play Battlefield as much as I want to. I've been dabbling in RedSec, which I have to admit is not particularly innovative, but it is very well polished, and I've enjoyed that experience. It feels like I'm reliving Verdansk again in a good way. I've also really enjoyed Battlefield Gauntlet. I think that gives me vibes from the finals, and it makes sense that this type of game mode would exist in Battlefield because the developers from those studios live in the same city. They used to all be DICE employees, or just about, so they largely share the same social circles and social spaces, so convergent design like this is not at all unsurprising. But yeah, I think my next Battlefield video is probably going to be on the Gauntlet mode, which is a little bit underrated and underplayed right now. I'll have to get a little bit less sick to get onto that. Still working on tons of gaming content at the pace of a snail, because right now I am sick as a dog. I'm talking about snails and dogs. I'm going to have to get better animal analogies here. But I also wanted to thank all of you that stopped by the 2 new channels that I launched last week. Bedside Media is a radical deviation from most of the type of content that I've done here in the past. And so far, it's off to an extremely strong start. The channel has really only been announced and live for, by the time you guys see this video, less than a week, I think 3 or 4 days. As of the time of recording it, in just under 48 hours, we've almost hit monetization requirements. So that's amazing. And I just want to say thank you for that. The Science and Tech channel is currently being worked on. My goal is to have it live and have content going there before the end of next week. And of course, gaming content is going to be constantly cranking here on this channel. I'll probably do a little bit more topical than gameplay focus until I can find a way to get my fingers to work properly again. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this content. I hope you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.